Take a walk with destiny. Walk on the trail of your life. Live your soul's purpose. Hosted by Jessica Joins, each show is dedicated to revealing your true calling and living a life of fulfillment. Each guest brings inspirational stories that help clear the way for your higher calling. You can listen to her show once a month on the uimediaapp.com, WDJY 99.1 FM, WTTA 101.2 FM, Talk10FM.com, Facebook Live on United Intentions, Spreaker, and many other platforms. Want to join the conversation? Call in now at 678-495-4345. So let's unwind, rest your mind, and let your spirit free to find your soul purpose.
Hello and welcome to Soul Purpose with Jessica Joins, the show where we help you uncover and start living your soul purpose. I want to give a special shout out to my friends at WDJY 99.1 FM and my friends at WTTA 101.2 FM in Kentucky and Ohio. How's everyone doing? Nothing's happened in the world since I saw you last in October. Nothing's changed. Still a lot of crazy stuff going on, still a really intense year. So wherever you are in that journey and whatever's going on for you, know that I'm thinking of you and I wish you the best. This is such a profound time of personal transformative time change. And whatever is coming up for you, whatever is being shown to you is only being shown to you so that you have an opportunity to heal it, to make changes, to step into your highest calling and truth. That is what so much of this year is about. And last time I was here, I had on one of our guests who was going to be a speaker at the 11-day online Women's Purpose Retreat. So we were leading up to it. And let me tell you this, it was beyond my expectations, what we were able to do in this 11 days. And so if you're an entrepreneur right now, let me just tell you what is possible on Zoom is beyond even what I have been able to imagine. Like anything is possible. You know, the retreats that I lead are usually really deep, kind of personal, sharing, vulnerability, you know, all this really intimate, deep stuff that in my mind, I thought we could only really do in person. I was wrong. We were able to do exactly what we do in person online. Did we get to hug each other? No. Did we get to hold each other through the tears? No. But we still all were able to really go there and achieve essentially what we set out to do in person online. So it really blew my mind. And so I kind of let you know. And in a little bit, in our second segment tonight, we're going to have one of the attendees from the retreat come on. So you got to stay around for that. But as you know, right now, we are breaking down the lessons in my book, Dare to Believe. And this month, we are on lesson 7, which is flow positive energy towards your purpose. This is one of my favorite lessons because it's all about, 1, accepting that you're a co-creator, and 2, coming to know that there is a beautiful universal current of energy, the divine, that is always seeking to create with you if you invite it in. And once you tap into this force, it really just brings new momentum, new energy, new life into your purpose. And really starting to tune in to when you're in flow and when you're out of flow. And it's kind of counterintuitive because when you're really in the divine flow, when you're going with the flow, things feel light. They feel easy. They feel gentle. You know, resonance is really high. And when we're out of flow, you know, fear is really overwhelming. We kind of get in that energy of striving, pushing, pulling, which is so counterintuitive to how we think we're supposed to get things done. So this lesson is all about, 1, helping you to recognize the power of the divine flow that's always around you. And then 2, helping you learn how to tap into it, to flow with it, to create with the universe. It's all about you really being conscious of the energy you're directing towards your purpose as well. And starting to get really conscious of the thoughts you're putting towards your dream. Starting to get very intentional. So like, are you sitting around going, oh my God, it's never going to happen. Oh, this is a sign it's not working. Are you in negative spirals of thinking, or are you consciously and actively putting positive thinking, positive thoughts towards your dream, knowing that as you do that, you're manifesting, not being unconscious to it, not skirting your innate and true power, but really owning it in a deeply profound way? And there's one thing, though, to note about this lesson. This lesson is not about some outdated form of New Age thinking about, oh, keep a positive mindset no matter what. No, because sometimes there's stuff we need to heal that comes up. And so this is not about ignoring feelings that arise. You know, if feelings of scarcity keep coming up, well, then you've got some deep inner work there to do. And the only way to do that is to dive into it, to feel it, to really heal and release. So it's finding the balance of keeping a positive mindset, but not ignoring what's seeking to be healed. Okay. And in the book, I have 3 practices for you that really help you master this lesson and become a master creator, really. And one of the practices is just how you practice daily, accepting like your status as a co-creator. A lot of us just think, oh, I'm just here for the ride. Like, I don't have to say what's going on. And that can be really detrimental to you manifesting your purpose. Okay. Another practice is practice being in the daily practice of being in flow. And so a lot of times that's like listening when you're supposed to just pause and do nothing, which is so hard for us, especially if you're an entrepreneur, especially if you're like building a business. Some days you're supposed to rest. Some days the universe is saying, just sit and wait. And that can be really hard if you're used to that culture of doing. So it's really learning how to ride the flow in a way that best serves you, and really learning how to practice enlightened and awakened doing, okay? Which isn't this push-pull energy. It's this acceptance and allowance energy where you kind of ride the tide and you drive the tide a little bit too. And then the third practice in this book is how to really do some of that deep inner healing, because when you step into divine flow, a lot of it is doing it from a place of what I'll call surrender, and that can feel really scary. And so a lot of times, a lot of limiting beliefs, a lot of kind of icky feelings, a lot of past trauma or pain can even come up. And so as that comes up, you also have to do the healing work on it. So, as always, our 3 truths and 3 things that you can do right now on this lesson, drum roll. Truth number 1 is that you are a co-creator. That's it. This doesn't just happening to you. You are writing the story. You are creating the journey. You are an active participant in it. You know, the universe is your partner, but it's a 50-50 partnership. Okay. So you are a co-creator. Number 2 truth, resonance and a feeling of lightness are synonymous with being in flow. And the kind of opposite of that is if it's just like you're going against stream, that feeling, you are not in divine flow. Stop, pause, redirect. Truth number 3 is keeping a positive mindset doesn't mean you ignore your feelings, okay? You're going to have serious problems if you just kind of keep shoving those feelings down and not looking at what they're about and healing what's there. So healing is a part of this journey. And so the 3 things that you can do right now to really start mastering this lesson, number 1 is affirm your power to co-create and invite it in daily. Every day, invite the universe into your journey. Invite the universe in your journey to lead you, to guide you, to show you the way, okay? Number 2, practice following the resonance. Resonance feels good. It feels like it's guiding you somewhere. It's like when you kind of, your hair stands up on your hands, you get goosebumps. It's that high vibe kind of energy that feels like it's gently nudging you along. And with practice, you can really learn to tune into it. And then the number 3 thing you can do is make it also practice to make time for inner healing. This work isn't easy and it will bring up stuff. Okay? So that's our lesson for this month. Next month we'll have more. But in the meantime, I cannot wait to bring on our first guest, who I just met very recently, and I'm so impressed and so incredibly inspired by his story. I just knew that he had to be with y'all. So Kuda Biza, let me tell you a little bit about him before I bring him on. He is an author. He's a serial entrepreneur who started his first company when he was 9 years old in Zimbabwe. Kuda moved to the US with only $40 in his pocket to study at Lynn University, where he started his second company. And he is the author of the book, The Spear Method. And right now he's the co-founder and CMO of Nunbelievable, which he's going to tell us about today, which is a mission-based baked goods company that donates meals for every box of cookies sold. And this company is backed by Tony Robbins and some others. And so I just say, welcome to the show, Kuda. I'm so glad that you're here.
Woo, woo, woo. That was an amazing introduction. Thank you so much, Jessica. And, we connected a couple of weeks ago and we really connected. And, that's why I'm here today. So thank you so much for the invitation.
I'm so glad to have you here. So I want to start with, this story that I now know and give whatever highlights you want. But how did you get here, Kuda?
On an airplane.
How did you get here to America? Because it is an unbelievable story. And do you mind telling our listeners and our viewers a little bit about it? Because it's a story that means you can do anything you put your mind to.
Yeah. So like you shared in the introduction, I was born in Harare, Zimbabwe. I was born in a family where I had 4 sisters and I was the only son. So it was quite interesting growing up. But a couple of things happened when I was growing up that really made me want to come to America. So the first incident was when I was 10 years old. I met a young girl called Sarah. And it wasn't like meeting the way you're thinking about it. No, it was just like bumping into each other and really just kind of like getting that realization that, number one, public education in Zimbabwe was not free. And number two, her being an orphan and, not having parents who could pay for her tuition meant that she and her siblings were not getting an education. So I asked her a question that changed my life. And the question was, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? And Sarah looked at me dead in my eyes and said, Kuda, my parents are dead. I don't go to school. I'm just waiting to die. So in that moment at 10, I kind of realized oh my God, she has stopped dreaming, right? Just because she doesn't have access to an education, she's basically concluded that she won't amount to anything. But I also became pissed off. I got pissed off to, the government. How come the government was not doing anything about people like Sarah? I got pissed off at the community. Why weren't the community doing something about it? And I really figured out okay, I think I need to do something about it. And the way I can solve this is by going to America, because I used to watch Prince of Bel-Air and all these other shows on TV and make something of myself. And then once I become successful, the idea was to then impact and change the lives of people like Sarah. So that was the seed that was, embedded in me in wanting to come to America.
At 10 years old.
At 10 years old.
Wild, yeah.
But I had a dilemma. And the dilemma was I came from a lower middle class family. My parents, annual salary was probably $2,000 a year, give or take. And attending college in the US, as you know, is not cheap, right? Especially if you're an international student, you don't have access to FAFSA or financial aid or things like that. It's either your parents have to pay or you get a scholarship. So when I graduated high school, I knew I had to figure out a way to get a full ride scholarship or something in order to make my dream come true. And one resource I didn't have at the time was internet, because obviously you need the internet to study for your SATs, write those applications and so forth and so forth. So I decided to go work night shift at an internet cafe from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning. So sorry, from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. I would work. And then from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning, I would spend the internet while I slept in the internet cafe. And, studied for my SATs that way, ended up applying to so many colleges. And ironically, I get a full ride to a university in Zimbabwe, which I ended up turning down. And it took me 2 years from that time to when I finally got a scholarship to go to sunny Boca Raton, Florida. So
we're going to really quick pause on that total cliffhanger right there. And we're going to do a quick commercial break, and we're going to hear the rest of Kuda's story on this incredible journey when we come back. This is Soul Purpose with Jessica Joins, and we'll be back in just a minute.
This is Kurt Arsenault of Arsenault Advisory Group. You just got married, but you may not realize that your money did as well. Is your spouse a spender or a saver? Will you purchase or rent a home? Finances aren't always fun to talk about, but getting on the same page with your partner and having real conversations about your goals will pave the way for a secure future. If you have recently tied the knot, visit arsenaultadvisory.com to download our free ebook titled 7 Smart Money Marriage Tips. Visit arsenaultadvisory.com to get your free ebook today.
Welcome back. This is Soul Purpose with Jessica Joins, and we were talking with Kuda Biza. Really quick, I want to remind everyone to stay updated with our uncensored content at uimedianetwork.org. And if you have any questions for Kuda, myself, or our next guest, you can call us right now and we'll take your questions live. That number is 678-495-4345. And we're back with Kuda, and you were just telling this amazing story. I want you to back up really quick. So you turned down the first one. Can you just give like a little bit of detail there? Because I think that's where like the commitment to your dream, at least to me, from my perspective, blew my mind when you told me this.
Yeah. So what happened was, you know, when I was applying to all these schools in the U.S., my parents was like, you know what, you need a safety net, you need a plan B, apply to a school in Zimbabwe just in case. So I applied to one of the top universities in Zimbabwe. I think it's actually the top university in Zimbabwe for their engineering program. And then I got accepted. And this is before I started getting all the responses from the schools in the U.S. And funding was already figured out. So for me, it would have been just like, you know, just going to college and not having to worry about my American dream, which for everybody, my parents included, was the safe route. And Jessica, this is the day I say I became a man, mainly because I had this offer. I actually went and registered. And after I finished registered classes, I was like, no, this is not my dream. This is their dream. So I need to pursue my dreams. And I literally just went back on the train and went back to Harare, the capital city, and literally just called my parents on the way. I'm like, hey, I'm not doing this. I'm going to stick it out and I'm going to go to America. And I had this confidence and certainty that, you know, I was going to do it. And I didn't know how, but I knew that I was going to do whatever it took. And sacrificing this opportunity was the first step. But it wasn't easy because, like I said, it took me 2 years from that day to when I finally got on a plane flying to Miami, $40 in my pocket. That's all my parents could give me at the time.
Wow. But, so 2 questions, though, really quick. Like, one, where did that confidence or belief in your dream, do you think like you were born with it? Where do you think it came from? Because it's so unique. It's so unique.
To be honest, I myself don't know where it comes from. But in my book, I do talk about, you know, curiosity did not kill the cat. But in fact, in my perspective, it awakened the lion. So I think part of, you know, think about it. This desire to come to America had been brewing since I was 10.
Yeah, like it was just a dream you always had.
Exactly.
Could you like see it? Do you know?
I could feel it. I could taste it. I could touch it. I didn't know what I was. I didn't know what I was doing at the time, but I was like visualizing. I'd visualize myself at the beach in Boca, right? Because I'd see all the pictures on the internet. I'm like, okay, this is where I'm going to be, and I'll just visualize all of that, and that became the fuel that drove me, and I was willing to sacrifice, you know, that opportunity to come to America. So the 2 years when I was just like at home applying for scholarship after scholarship were extremely painful because all of my friends, all of my relatives will come to me and say, we told you so.
You're crazy.
Yeah, they'll be like, we told you so. You should have listened to us. You know, look at you now. Like all your, you know, friends are like 2 years ahead of you and you haven't even taken a single class yet. But I didn't give up. And I think it's a key lesson in life that sometimes, you know, for your goal and your dream and your destiny, there's a little bit of sacrifice and perseverance that you need to throw into the
always.
pot, right?
Always.
Because if you take the easy route out, the path of least resistance, it probably won't get you to where you want to.
And you don't have the spiritual growth that is like inherent to the soul purpose journey for whatever. But you know, it is like that unwavering faith or belief, or you know, keep going. There's something in that. You know, it's a common thread in every success story like yours. You know.
Yeah. So then I made it to America, and while I was at Lynn, I remembered my commitment, which was I wanted to make a difference and I wanted to change the reality in Zimbabwe. So while I was in college, in my dorm room, I decided to start a business, my second one, because my first one was when I started when I was 9, cleaning windows in Harare. And then at Lynn, I started a t-shirt company, and I had $150. That's all I had. But I was able to convince my manufacturer to give me 30-day payment terms. So I basically used my manufacturer as my bank, because one thing I had learned in my journey is that the resources sometimes don't really matter, but it's the resourcefulness that you as an individual can have what really unlocks the reality. So, you know, my manufacturer was like, all right, I'll take a shot on you. So I started this business, AFR Clothing. We would donate 20% of our proceeds to a scholarship fund to educate kids in Africa. And in a short period of time, we were able to educate hundreds of children in Zimbabwe, in South Africa, in Tanzania, and Ghana. And that was an important seed into where I am now, because I was able to launch a social venture with very limited resources. But that business that I started in college opened up the next door in my career, which was to work for a fairly large multi-billion-dollar conglomerate called Jordan Consumer Solutions, which was about a mile away from my school. And what was interesting is that the role that they hired me for was to launch businesses in a big multi-billion-dollar company. And, you know, it was an interesting role. I got to launch multiple businesses. I launched a business in partnership with Anheuser-Busch, the company that owns Budweiser. We created an at-home tap system that we ended up launching at Target. We also launched Crock-Pot Cuisine, which was a meal delivery business under the Crock-Pot brand, which was the most successful business I started at Jordan, where we were able to take it from an idea on a napkin to a $20 million business in less than 3 years with a partnership with Omaha Steaks, which was the next seed, you know, to where I am today, because you can never connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. So, you know.
Let's talk about those seeds for a second. Do you feel like these seeds or these signposts were just being put in front of you and you were following, or were you like digging for the seeds? Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
What was that? What has that journey been like for you so far? Because, you know, I know you're still very much in it too, but what is that? What were those like?
I think it's a combination of both, right? In my book, The Spear Method, I talk about, you know, the first S, which is seek your purpose. So I was in alignment with my purpose. I had clear clarity as to what my why was, right? Because what we
define what that is, like even right, like what do you consider your why? Just so the audience understands, like how you're doing translates to what you feel your why is.
So my why really is to be an entrepreneur that makes a difference, right? So is to really create successful businesses, but with the clear aim to make money, but to use a significant amount of that money to change lives. Because, you know, growing up in Africa and experience what I experienced, I feel that there's a lot that we can do to make a difference. So anyway, that was kind of like my purpose, right? So because when I got the opportunity to work at Newell, I also got an opportunity to work at AirTran, because when I was studying at Lynn, I double majored in aviation and business.
Wow.
So I had an opportunity to go fly planes or to get into business. But because I had clarity on my why, I turned down the opportunity to be, you know, a pilot and to go into the aviation industry to go start businesses, because I had clarity on what my purpose was.
And I think it's so important. If anyone is watching and listening, like you knew your why, and if something was not in alignment with it, even if it might sounded good and sounded or like been a ton of money, you were laser focused on honoring your truth, kind of no matter what.
Yeah, and which is exactly what happened with Unbelievable, right? I got a call, and they basically were like, "Hey, there's a project going on, and we think you're the guy for the job because you started a social enterprise and you also started a food business and you have a lot of e-commerce experience." So I was like, all right, I'll come in and I'll listen. And they start telling me like, oh, there was a man who was flying to San Francisco, and on his way to San Francisco, he read about a group of nuns, ended up going to help the nuns, found out that the nuns were selling cookies to support their soup kitchen, and he decided to create a cookie company that made a difference. And we believe you could be the guy who could really take this vision into a business because, number one, you started a social enterprise, you have food experience, e-com, and so forth and so forth. So as they were talking, for me, it was like, oh, wow, I can really apply.
The resonance. Yeah,
exactly. I could apply, the 10 plus years experience I had in this big conglomerate in an entrepreneurial venture that made a difference, because I felt like, in my Fortune 500 role, although I was generating millions and millions of dollars in sales, I wasn't really making like a direct impact. I couldn't
the level
see
that you wanted to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for me, it became kind of like a no-brainer. Like, yeah, this is what I need to do because it's in alignment with my why. And then when I found out that the guy was Tony Robbins and also Michael Loeb, one of the guys behind Priceline.com, that was simply icing on the cake. But it was really having that clarity on my purpose that really has enabled me to really listen to the music and not pay attention to the noise.
Yeah, and I want to come back to talking about that company in a second, but I have a question for you, and it kind of goes in a little bit in theme with tonight's show, but I feel like if I'm perceiving this correctly, I feel like you're attracting these opportunities to you, like they're, like especially this most recent one. And so my question is, Kuda, do you ever find yourself in a negative mindset, or do you ever feel like, oh my God, stuff's not going to happen, like most of us do, like are in fear about stuff? Or are you generally more positively minded? What's in your head? Let us in. We want to know because we want to bottle it up.
I'm a human being just like everybody else, right?
Yeah.
So you always have that other voice coming in. But what I will tell you, though, is that your habits, your daily habits determine your destiny. And one of the things that I do each morning is I talk to myself positively, positive affirmations, and all these types of things. So I have a routine each morning that I do. I went to boarding school.
Positive affirmations in the morning. What else do you do? This is like the good stuff. What else?
Yeah. So I meditate, pray. I have a moment of silence. Where I'm just kind of like just in one with my thoughts. I exercise because you need to get those, hormones working in your favor. And I take cold showers because it wakes you up. I don't drink coffee. So by the time I'm done, taking my shower, I'm up, I'm fully awake, I'm there. And then I read 30 minutes a day and spend time planning my day before I turn on my phone and get into all these other things, right? So I really spend the first...
You're very mindful of your energy.
Yeah, I spend the first 2 hours of my morning. It's really for myself and just getting in alignment with my thoughts. And then I start the day. But really the positive affirmations, you have no idea how much that really helps you because, you're reprogramming your subconscious so that whenever you get into that period of self-doubt, that positive statement that, you're
taking ownership for your thoughts and then therefore your reality and your perception and all of that. That's so powerful.
Yeah. So that's what I do. And it really helps me in terms of like very challenging situations. I just remind myself like, hey, you're the same dude who came to America with $40 in your pocket. You're the same dude who started a business with $150. You're the same dude who did this and this and this. And then those stack up on me, and then I feel like a giant,
Totally.
and I can take over anything. And also, it does help having Tony Robbins in your corner.
Totally. You just like drink from that fountain, right?
Yeah.
So I want to tell us a little bit about your book, and then I want to spend a little time talking about the current company because you're doing so many great things. But tell us about your book. What are some of the main takeaways? What's it about?
So this is a testament, right? Because I never thought that I would write a book or be an author, but again, did that. And the SPEAR method really is about teaching people how to achieve both success and fulfillment. Because when I was in corporate America, I quickly found myself chasing the goal, chasing the target for the year, and just chasing success. But like I said, there wasn't really that fulfillment. So when Unbelievable came about, it was like, oh my God, this is what I need, because not only can I also chase success, I'll be fulfilled, because as I'm selling more, I'm feeding more people and helping eradicate hunger. Mm-hmm. But it really came about when an unfortunate event came about. My sister passed away in 2015.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And when she passed away and I was at her memorial, I started asking myself questions to say like, hey, was she happy? Was she fulfilled? Did she get to do all the things that she wanted to do? Was she just chasing success and really forgetting about her internal happiness? And through that process of grief, I decided that, hey, I'm probably not the only one who's going through this. Let me go on a journey to really find out how can you achieve both success and fulfillment. And when I find those answers, I'll share it with the world. And the answer that I found is the SPEAR method. So S is seek your why. So you want to know your why and understand your purpose. And in the book, I talk about a process that you can use to do that. And then P, it's planning. Right? Because once you know your purpose or your why, you want to come up with a plan on how you're going to get there every single day, right? Every flight needs a flight plan, coming, from my aviation days, right? And then once you have your plan, you now want to execute your plan. You want to work your plan, because what's the point of you spending the time coming up with a plan and then you don't do anything?
Yeah.
So execution is really key. And I think that's where a lot of people fall short. It's really on the execution. But then when you execute, you're going to achieve something. So it could be 20%, it could be 30%, it could be 100%. But whatever achievement that you make in that process of execution, you want to then evaluate where you are and repeat that same process of planning, executing, and achieving. Because until you ultimately achieve your purpose, which I think is a very long time, you're always going to be
always evolving. Yeah,
exactly. So that's what the SPEAR method talks about. And I have a lot of stories of people that I've interviewed, super successful, self-made, that share their journeys as well. So I think it's a timely book for anyone.
Well,
you don't have to be an entrepreneur.
Book for the people that watch this show, you can get it on Amazon, I assume. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on spearmethod.com. So multiple places where you can go get it.
So in our final couple minutes, you got to the current company. You got to start with the name. Who came? Totally putting on a spot. Like you got 2 minutes. Who came up with the name, and what is Nunbelievable? Is just
so Nunbelievable is it's a cookie company, mission-based cookie company. For every cookie that we sell, we donate a meal. The name came from our board chairman, Jonathan Cohen. He's part of Tony Robbins' ecosystem. But as Tony and him were kind of like brainstorming the idea, they were just like, oh my God, Unbelievable, because this is an unbelievable story. So we really loved to be kind of like fun and humorous because, when people talk about nuns, they like to, it's a serious topic. Right. I think it's religious, but we wanted to really have fun with it. So if you even look at our branding, we use nun puns and all these other fun stuff
I love it.
To really get people, welcomed into the brand. But we just want to help eradicate hunger in a delicious way with our cookies.
Oh, amazing. Kuda, what's coming up on the horizon for you? Anything you want to tee up or share? Let our viewers also know how they can get in touch with you while you're at it, if you don't mind.
Sure. So viewers can get in touch with me on Instagram. It's Kuda Biza, so Kudabiza. You can also search me on LinkedIn, Kuda Biza. Easy, right? The next thing that's on the horizon is that we're really excited about new product launches for Unbelievable. We're going to be launching keto cookies, so sugar-free, low sugar. So for people who are into keto diets and all that stuff, we got you. And we're also launching a shortbread in a couple of weeks as well. So that's another exciting thing that we're going to be doing. And I won't spill all the beans, so you're going to have to follow me in order to find out some of the other things that we're going to be doing.
There you go. Kuda, I could have you on for like another hour, but unfortunately we got to say goodbye. But it has been an honor and a pleasure. And I'm just, I don't know, I'm humbled by you.
I do have a gift for your audience though.
Oh, okay. Tee it up.
Yeah. So if they go to nonbelievable.com and type in Jessica 20, they can get 20% off on our cookies. So between now and the end of the year, December 31st, 2020, Jessica 20 will give you 20% off Non-Believable cookies.
I love it. Thank you for that. We're so grateful to you. Kuda, thank you so much for being here. When we come back, we're going to have our next guest on, Kerry Fitzmaurice with Pure Grit. And for now, this is Jessica Joins with Soul Purpose. I'll be right back. Jessica Joins, author, spiritual coach, and inspirational speaker. Understanding your soul purpose is the most important work you will ever do. It's the key to unlocking your true potential and happiness. And that's why I'm so happy to announce that you now have the opportunity to have your most important soul purpose questions answered by me live on air. That's right. I'll tackle your most important questions about how to step into living your life's true calling on my show, Soul Purpose with Jessica Joins. So if there are big questions or challenges you've been wanting answers to help with your soul purpose journey, here's your chance. Write to me at contact@uimedianetwork.org and you might get a chance to be featured on my show. Welcome back. This is Soul Purpose with Jessica Joins. If you have questions for us, you know I want you to call us at 678-495-4345. We love taking your questions live. And you can connect with us online, following us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spreaker, and other podcasting platforms as UI Media Network. And finally, if you want to be a radio host or you got a message to share, then email us at contact@uimedianetwork.org. And so I'm so excited for our next guest, Kerry Fitzmaurice. Let me tell you a little bit about her. And this friend of mine, she's the founder and CEO of Pure Grit Market. She's an environmentalist by education, a marketer by career, a mother by choice, a serial entrepreneur, plant-based and gluten-free founder of Pure Grit Market, born in barbecue, creating sauces and spices designed to combine. Welcome to the show, Kerry.
Well, thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. You had quite a year. So yeah. you got connected to your soul purpose. I'm gonna tell everyone a little bit about that in a second. Part of which was to open a restaurant this year. Yeah. And then COVID hit, and you had to learn how to go with divine flow.
Exactly.
What's that been like?
It's actually, you think, I took the most positive route I could have. You know what I mean? Like there was nothing I could do. And you're set up in this situation where you're preparing for, to open a restaurant. We were talking to chefs. We were looking at space. We were really excited. And the space, talk about divine intervention. The space kept falling through. And it was upsetting to say the least. But then all of a sudden we're sitting here, we don't have a lease signed and COVID hits. So I do feel like, when you're in the flow and you're thinking through things, what do they say? Like everything's a blessing in disguise. Like it was one of those blessings in disguise.
You were so protected. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was that pivot. It was like it's so much momentum going into looking for the restaurant and figuring out what we were going to do that I didn't want to stop the momentum. And that is ultimately why we pivoted to e-commerce. And then now we're pivoting again. It's just based on learnings and being home, cooking like everybody else. Like you learn from what everybody else is doing, including yourself. You're not alone in this world. We're all experiencing the same stuff.
And let's backtrack a little too. Yeah. It's just like that. I mean, to me, it's so when I think about the year you've had, I was so thinking about you at the time when it was going down, and I've just been so impressed by how you've navigated all of this. But, we come from a similar kind of career background in marketing.
Yep.
And what was your moment? Like, how did you decide to walk away from a very successful career, I might add, and go, I'm going to become an entrepreneur in the restaurant business, something I don't think you had necessarily had experience with? Can you give a little snippet of what that journey was like and how you got on it?
I think it goes back, I started my career in kind of with an entrepreneurial spirit. You know what I mean? Like I moved, I was constantly moving and hustling and figuring out things on the fly. And then I kind of like fell into this. I had an agency, like a PR agency that I sold to an ad agency that got me into this like marketing mindset and going from job to job and living someone else's dream, fulfilling someone else's idea of creativity or fulfilling somebody else's idea of what a day of work should look like and what client we should go for. And I got into this hamster wheel and I was so unsatisfied that I honestly would constantly butt heads with my teammate, my teams were great, but like superiors or just kind of working through the work. You know what advertising is like? It's like, it doesn't matter. Like I'm plant-based. I have not had meat since I was 10 and I'm working on Burger King. Like that's not exactly like on my vision board.
Not totally values aligned.
No, not at all. I mean, things are different now. I mean, obviously we all know that QSRs are a lot of them are going plant-based now based on the market. It just makes sense. So it just is one of those things where I finally kind of hit my limit. I did a lot of positive psychology and I really like what Kuda was saying.
Yeah.
And that's another side story about how I know him.
Oh, which is amazing. Insane. I love it.
That I know him and Unbelievable and the founders and his people. I can't believe he was your guest.
Synchronicity. Crazy. That's crazy.
Exactly. But I think it had something to do with the positive psychology and coming to terms with my ego and my participation in the negative cycle that I was finding myself in. That regardless of money, I was unhappy and I was making other people unhappy.
Right.
And what does that look like? And then finally letting it go, just letting it go. And then Pure Grit kind of came in from the space that I had let the other crap in my life go.
Yeah. But you this is very common for women who want to do their next chapter and do something that feels financially risky is you have kids, you do, like, how did you navigate that? Because it's probably the number one block in women I work with or otherwise that keeps them on the status quo life and not doing something like you did. How did you navigate that for yourself?
Well, it's funny because there's a lot of emotional connection. Like Jess, when you work your whole career and you make money and you're paying the mortgage or the rent, putting food on the table, there's a lot of identity there and a lot of freedom in the feeling that you don't need anybody else. Right? There's that kind of freedom. Yeah. But then there's also the ties that bind to enjoy that freedom. It's sort of like this reverse thing. And so it's also coming to terms with what you can do without and what you want. And it's sort of like there is a short-term drawback for you're playing a long game. And so it's a little terrifying. And I think I was lucky enough, to have some money saved and to be able to afford a little bit of a runway, but we're in this next round of our company. We're looking for financing. Like we're finishing our deck. I'm sure Kuda knows about that. When you're going out to fundraisers and trying to find the people that believe in your vision and think that you have a shot.
Yeah.
And so, I'm not making a salary and I'm hoping to get this thing. I have 3 credit cards in rotation right now.
Yeah.
And that's the truth.
Totally.
Truth. It is not, it is frightening. It's a little, frightening, but I've
had so many moments where I've wanted to give up. I had a lot of moments early on where I was like, I just need to go get a job. And for me, and I kind of clarify this for our audience, for me, that was like a death sentence because of, all the health problems, everything I was having and how they corresponded with those jobs.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've had moments where you've wanted to give up too, perhaps, or gotten close to it. How have you navigated those really challenging times? Because they happen, Yeah.
Breathing.
Yeah.
Like today, our sauces were supposed to be picked up Friday, didn't show up. They're supposed to be picked up today, didn't show up.
Yeah.
They just didn't, UPS didn't show up.
I feel ya.
So-
Okay. We're going to do a quick commercial break and we're going to breathe some more.
We're going to breathe.
We'll breathe. So we'll be right back. This is Soul Purpose with Jessica Joins, and we'll be back with Kerry in just a little bit.
If this content resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel at uimedianetwork.org to stay updated with our uncensored shows. Also, like and follow us at UI Media Network on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and almost all your favorite podcasting platforms. Most importantly, if you're being censored on social media, write to us at contact@uimedianetwork.org to get your message out. And remember, keep raising that frequency.
Welcome back. This is Soul Purpose with Jessica Joins, and we're talking with Kerry Fitzmaurice. Really quick, meet Jenny Lawson, the bloggess, like Mother Teresa only better, with stand-up comedian Amy Lyle and fitness instructor Gina Riles as they interview writer Jenny Lawson, along with certified nutritional consultant Suzanne Carpenter on the In the Burb show on Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. And we're talking here with Kerry, and you were talking about breathing, but it's those moments, Kuda talked about, his moments of not giving up too, which is incredible. He was so young at the time, and like watching all his friends go away to college, and he's sitting there like still working on this dream he has at whatever he must have been, 17, 18 at the time. But it's hard at any age. And I've had so many of them. Is there just something within you that's like, you just see the vision and see what it could become? Like, what does keep you going? I'm so curious.
That's a good question, because it changes. Like, I think the thing that keeps me going is the idea that nothing is static. It's like, okay, yes, it was supposed to be vegan, like plant-based barbecue. Yes. Okay. It was supposed to be in New York City. Okay. Yes. Then we pivoted to sauces, barbecue sauces. And then while I've been cooking for the last year or 2 years, I realized that it's really more about condiments. And they're not just an ending, they're a beginning. And getting back to that nostalgia, the roots of cooking, which was primarily, what do you have? Versus 7 jars of this. What?
Like, can you get an example of starting with the condiments, like what that means?
Like, for example, if you were going to barbecue something, let's say I barbecue, like today I was doing sweet potatoes. I take the sweet potatoes and I cut them up into 1-inch pieces, and then I slather it in mustard. That's just a barbecue technique. That's not I didn't make it up. Then you put the spice blend on it, and it sticks to the mustard. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So now you've coated it with rub and mustard, and you can either bake it, you can air fry it, you can smoke it in a stovetop smoker or your grill or whatever you want. But that is a technique where mustard is used on a lot of proteins, even vegetables, whatever you're using. There's also in Southern cooking is mayonnaise. So mayonnaise is that base that's in my cornbread. You know what I mean? Like, and as
you're usually talking about the actual, like the sweet potato, and instead, like the pivot is talking about like the condiment. I see what you're saying.
Talking about not the technique, like smoking. It's more about like, how do you prepare to cook? Because I made tomato sauce yesterday. I didn't have any in the house. I literally made it with tomato paste, water, garlic, and Italian spices. Like, and my daughter was like, "This is the best tomato sauce you've made." So it's honestly like getting out of this mindset that you need 10 jars of anything in your cupboard or your refrigerator door, and getting into a mindset of you probably have the things you need to make something awesome.
Yeah.
And so it's just staying creative and pivoting and not being so precious and not being tied to the ego, which Jess, you and I talk about a lot. It's like, if I dug my heels in and been like, I want fast casual restaurant, I would have nothing today.
Yeah,
and it's
be
just
like
pivot,
incredible debt. Yeah,
and learn and be curious enough to listen and learn. Be curious enough to listen and learn.
What have you learned most about yourself so far?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. I wish my sister's watching. I wish she was on this call. She may tell you better than I do.
She can call in, sister. You can call in that number I gave. 678.
You know what? It's probably. I know this is gonna. I don't know how this is gonna sound, but I feel like the last 10 years of my career have beat me down to the point where I don't trust my own instinct. I think I was told, what was creative or what was this and what was that. And I feel like I now believe in myself. And it took these last couple of years where I would be like, I say something and my team, my investors and my team and the people that have been giving so much sweat, like Jenny Mark and my sister and Scott Kaufman and people who have been really backing this and supporting me, coming up with ideas and having the team be like, yes, you got it. Yes, that's where we should go. That's what we should do. And have a team that we are all together and we believe in the same things and we support each other. I haven't felt like I've had that in a really long time. And so I'm very grateful to the team we've built for Pure Grit. It matters. Surrounding yourself with people that believe in you matters.
And wasn't it just an amazing feeling even when you first saw your logo on a barbecue sauce bottle and you're like, I created that. I mean, it must be such an incredible feeling to see your vision come to life.
Oh my gosh. I can't even tell you how exciting it is. I still see all the orders that come in. I write hand thank you notes. And when an order comes in, I don't know the name. I'm like, I don't know this person.
Oh my God. Yeah. How'd they hear about me?
Yeah, who is this?
Yeah. Yeah. And you've been doing a lot on Instagram too. For me, it was I don't know. I'm in my 40s now. I got to now. It's been a whole little world. At least it was for me to figure out. And I think you're rocking it there.
Thank you.
Do you find it fun or
I love it.
You do? I can tell
it's
you
the most fun. I have such a good time because it went from my account. I can be as my silly self. I posted a video about us doing this and I don't know if you listened to it, but instead of saying, I was going to say 6 p.m. EST and I said 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm a goofball and who cares? And the cooking is fun. And then we do a slightly more polished version for the Pure Grit barbecue Instagram. But still I do takeovers and it's all about being fun. My reels, I don't know what I'm doing. Who cares? I'm just trying to have some fun because cooking, experimenting, condiments, it's all supposed to be fun. Bottom line, it's just supposed to be fun.
And it sounds like you're just getting to be yourself and explore who that is in a deeper, more fulfilling way. And you're learning how to you really are learning how to go with divine flow because you're having to pivot and flex and like you said, learning e-commerce and what's next on the horizon? What are you focused on? It's hard to focus or plan anything right now. I totally get it. It's kind of a ridiculous question, but what is your vision for the year ahead?
Well, because we pivoted from this straight up barbecue brand, which we're pivoting now to condiments designed to combine. We have new formulas for our sauces and a new fulfillment house out of Ohio. So it's really just kind of setting up this new distribution center and the new messaging, because the messaging is less about barbecue and it's more about what barbecue can bring to cooking in general.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not just barbecue cooking. And so we're really focusing on that new messaging and working on this. We have a timeline and a plan of 10 condiments and 10 spice blends coming out in the next year.
Oh, wow.
So it's not just barbecue sauce and hot sauce. It's plum sauce. It's queso. It's tomato sauce. It's all these things that are designed to combine. So you have tons of different options in your refrigerator.
Yeah. And look, I know it's you created it for vegans and inherently don't have a lot of great tasting stuff in this category. Mm. But as far as I understand, it's not just vegans using your product, right? Or what's that been like?
No. Well, listen, everything we make is plant-based and gluten-free, so everybody can enjoy it.
Yeah.
The idea is if I can inspire you, you do you. We always say we make it gluten-free and plant-based, you make it whatever you're into. But if I can put up some recipes and some videos where you just pile more plants on your plate is what we like to say, then it's a win. Yeah. Because if we can make a product that you use till it's completed. Do you know that every person in the U.S. spends $82 on condiments purchases in a year. They
Wow.
throw away $50.
Wow. Such waste. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like a waste. It's like ridiculous because we buy these things and then we don't know, you know, you buy mustard, you're like, I only had one hot dog. Well, mustard can be used in like 100 things.
Right.
From salad dressing to sauces to, you know, barbecue. So it's just kind of getting people in the mindset that you don't need to buy something for everything.
Yeah.
You can actually, you can create stuff yourself.
I love that. Kerry, I'm going to invite you to put some of your soul purpose skills to test. I have a couple letters here from some audience members that I'm going to read out loud and see if you have any feedback for them. And I'm going to offer mine too. The first one is from a woman named Cassandra in Atlanta. And she's saying, Dear Jessica, my soul purpose journey feels like it's at a standstill. Nothing seems to be happening. What should I do? What do you think, Kerry? What do we say? What advice do we have for Cassandra?
You know what's something I think that Eckhart Tolle or you have said, it's like sometimes you have to contract to grow. I don't know what that thing is, but it's sometimes you have to go in to go back out again. And so I would say, look at it. It can't just be that it stopped. Look at why. Where are you? And are you feeding inwards so that you can then feed outwards? Like sometimes it's, you know, there's a saying, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. That is a saying because it happens in life. And so why is that happening? And what's that challenge? Because I have to, you know, I do believe in flow. And I do believe that when you tap in, you go. And so I'm kind of quite like, what is that thing?
And I think that's exactly right. And what I'd say on top of that, Cassandra, is to Kerry's point, if you're trying to tap in and, well, one, see if you're tapping in and like to divine flow. Is divine flow saying you need to pause and reassess and rethink? Because if you're meant to take action, the universe will make it crystal clear, you know? So one, like be sure you're tapping into that. But if you're not able to tune into it, maybe there is some deeper inner healing work or something that needs to be looked at. Like there is a reason why, but sometimes there is an ebb and flow. And sometimes like we're meant to sit still and to let things unfold in a certain way, you know?
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. I think we have time for one more, but we'll have to be quick on our answers on this one. This one is from Sharon in Minnesota. And she says, Dear Jessica, I'm very disheartened by the amount of divisiveness and conflict happening everywhere. What can I do to feel more hopeful? That's a big one. I don't know if we can answer that in a minute.
I mean, that is a big one. And I mean, just for me personally, because I hear that loud and clear and I live it. We all do, right? And I try my best to put myself in the other person's shoes and try to think of perspective, empathy, and compassion. Because just because I've showed up here today, there's a million things that got me here, and there's a million things that got you here. And at the end of the day, we are humans and brothers and sisters and on this earth together. And it's you got to meet people where they are and listen, because we don't know. And you can't I mean, it's impossible just to go, you're wrong.
Yeah.
You got to listen.
I love that. I love that. And I'll say, I don't think it's forever. I think it's purposefully being shown to us in a way that's going to help bring us back together. And I agree with Kerry on the action you can take now. Kerry, how can everyone get in touch with you? What's on the horizon in the immediate future? How can they get some Pure Grit?
You can go to puregritbbq.com, and it's spelled just like it sounds. And we are changing over the website because we're going with the new fulfillment house Monday, whatever that is, the 25th of November. You can also get us on Instagram, where we're the most active, and I'm at Kerry Fitz, KerryFitz, and it's at Pure Grit BBQ for the company. And that's where you can find us. And there's tons of recipes and ways to interact with the brand without buying a thing.
Thank you so much, Kerry. It was so great to have you on the show. Thanks to everyone who tuned in from wherever you are. I hope everyone has an incredible Thanksgiving next week. You can get some Pure Grit for that, by the way. And we will see you next month.
And some vegan recipes.
And we'll see you next month. This is Soul Purpose with Jessica Joins. Goodbye for now.
We hope this episode helped you take a step closer to find your soul purpose. We will be back in 3 weeks on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern on the UIMediaApp.com, WDJY 99.1 FM, WTTA 101.2 FM, Talk10FM.com, and Facebook Live on United Intentions, Spreaker, and many other platforms. Jessica Joins is happy to hear from you, so make sure you watch and share her show, and also write to her on Facebook with your comments, suggestions, and questions. Wherever you are in life, it's never too late to uncover what makes you happy. Let us help you find your soul purpose. The United Intentions Foundation and its associates take no responsibility for the opinions and statements made by the talk show hosts or their